This is an example I call designing dinner. I wanted to show you how we can think about approaching design criteria with a simple example. We all grapple with the question, what should we have for dinner? So for some people, this is actually a wicked problem. It may even be connected to a major life challenge. So let's say I do some ethnographic research. I learned that he eats gluten-free. They only like mac and cheese. One user has type 2 diabetes. She comes home at 7, but he's hungry at 4. How am I going to resolve all of this into one coherent design that meets everyone's needs? So there are many different ways to have dinner, and we should keep that in mind. Think about all the different variations. There could be multiple courses, ingredients, the environment in which it's served, or the audience to which it appeals. I might even focus on making dinner culturally relevant. There are lots of different factors, including the goals of dinner and the behaviors we're trying to induce. And one important innovator's trick to keep in mind, it might not even be called dinner. I might want to step so far out that I'm even thinking about what is dinner, and is that really a constraint or assumption I have to adhere to? So think of the dinner menu as your design, or in actuality, a design might actually be like a menu and a plan for dinner. But the reality is when most of us are making dinner, the planning part happens very seamlessly. We're in the grocery store wandering around picking ingredients without really thinking about, do we have a concrete plan for how we're gonna cook and execute? So it is in a sense a teeny bit more complex than what we might usually do. But remember just to hang on to the fact that the menu, design, and then ultimately the implementation phase is actually making the dinner itself. Remember, that's a different class. We're in a design class right now. So we should be asking the question, what are the criteria by which we are going to assess our dinner design? How will we know if we design a successful dinner? So remember from our talk earlier that this comes back to the impact, the outcomes, and the behaviors. What impact do we want to have on our beneficiaries? What are the outcomes? And ultimately, what is the behavior that we hope to see produced? So here at USC, we work on norms-based innovation. So the norm that I've identified that we need to address is that we should eat dinner in a rush or skip dinner when we're too busy. So that's the norm I want to counteract, and I want to create behaviors that operate as deviants to that norm. So going to the design criteria statement, if anything were possible, my meal would result in the following. Eating. I want everyone to eat. I don't want everyone to snack later. I want them to feel full and satisfied. I'd like them to be all sitting together. I want to make sure we're maintaining a healthy blood sugar for that person who has type 1 diabetes or type 2 diabetes. And but importantly, I want to make sure that they're not multitasking or working. I want to take all of the rush out of the dinner experience and make sure that everyone's connecting and together. So the user is the dinner preparer in this case, and the beneficiaries are the family who's eating dinner. Now again, from the ethnographic interviewing, we found a couple things. First, that we want to make the dinner gluten-free. Second, that the kids only eat mac and cheese. Third, that we have to contend with someone who has type 2 diabetes. I also learned that someone comes home at 7 and someone's hungry at 4. Now those two I can already tell are going to be design problems, but we'll come back to them. And lastly, I only have 30 minutes to prep. So these are quite a few constraints that I need to work with them. So remember, step 1 is to identify attributes and to draft the design criteria. So this is my simple design criteria canvas, and I've laid out all of the different design criteria according to the must, should, could, and won't. So in the must category, I have that the meal must contain protein and veggies in order to be type 2 diabetes compliant. I only have 30 minutes to prep. I have to include mac and cheese. All must eat together and all must sit together. Quite a few musts that we have to contend with. There's a couple of things in the should category. Turns out when I dug a little deeper into my research that gluten-free was not a mandate, but was an important nice to have. Also, everyone should feel nurtured, full, and satiated, but maybe I can't make that happen for everyone, and that might be okay. I noted that the dinner could be at 7 or 4, and I have that in red because that's a conflict I'm going to have to resolve. We definitely don't want the dinner to spike blood sugar. And in fact, I've even got a tentative constraint that blood sugar should be within 5% of a normal post-meal reading 20 minutes after completion. I also want to make sure that no one will be multitasking. So remember, our next step is to question the assumptions. So we're going to go back through each of these and ask, have we really questioned, are all of these things exactly worded in the right way or in the right categories? Okay, so next step is refine the design criteria for maximum innovation. So you'll notice here that I've actually split the design canvas now into two columns. One for the final design criteria that I came up with, and another column for where I've wanted to make the opportunity space a little wider and more open for design. So here's how we do that. I reframe the diabetes requirement that it must contain protein and veggies with the phrasing, it must be compliant with a diabetes-friendly diet. So now it doesn't have to have protein and veggies specifically, but it must meet those overarching dietary requirements. It should take 30 minutes or less to prep, meaning that it doesn't have to hit 30 minutes on the spot. I can give myself anywhere from 0 or 30 minutes to complete the task. Can't seem to get out of including mac and cheese, but I do have a note that we might be able to try some new things out. So I noted too, with all must eat and all must be together, that do they have to actually be in the same space? Could it be virtual? Does it have to be at the same time? Gluten-free and feeling nurtured, full, and satiated are still things that I would like to see the design do if possible. I've asked a question though under the could category. Could the mac and cheese be hacked with vegetables? Could it be gluten-free? Could I actually prep the meal in advance in order to buy myself some more time? Could the person who needs to eat a snack earlier or do something else that maybe would change how they experience dinner and that hunger wait time? I still don't want the design to spike blood sugar, but I have tweaked that requirement to say maybe it just needs to be within a normal range post-meal. Maybe I don't need to make it quite so audacious or particular. I still don't want people to multitask. So that's the design that I've created so far. Let's take a look and focus on the elements we care about. So would this meal meet the criteria and result in everyone eating? I want everyone to eat. It does seem that we figured out a way for them to do that. I have created a plan that because everyone will eat, they won't be snacking later. Turns out they will be sitting together, though maybe not in the same physical space. I will accomplish them having healthy blood sugar, and they definitely won't be multitasking or working. So this design would meet the criteria, or this design, so a meal that met this criteria would indeed result in everyone meeting my overarching goals. We'll come back next week and do more work on the actual design. Talk to you then.